In this video, we are starting the chapter on canonical forms. We know that if T from V to V is a linear transformation and T has n linearly independent eigenvectors where n is dimension of V, then the matrix representation of T is a diagonal matrix. This is the most simple representation a linear transformation can have, but this thing is not always possible. Not all linear transformations can have a diagonal matrix representation. So if this is not the case, then we try to find out other less simpler matrix representation of linear transformation T, and these representations, matrix representations of T, are called canonical forms. We start with the definition of an invariant subspace of a vector space invariant under a linear transformation. So let T from V to V be a linear transformation. A subspace W of V is said to be invariant under T or T invariant if T maps W into itself. That means if we apply W, if we apply T on any W in W, then its image again goes to W. That means TW is contained in W. In that case, we say that W is T invariant. Example is this one. Take this transformation from R cube to R cube. If we send XYZ to this vector, in this transformation, point XYZ is rotated by an angle theta. Height remains same. So like this, if this is the point XYZ, then it will rotate by an angle theta in this space. Height will remain same, Z. So if we take this subspace W XY0 where Z is 0 means XY plane, then it is invariant under T because any point in XY plane will be of the form XY0. If we rotate this point XY0, then it will remain in XY plane again. So this W is invariant under this transformation T. This theorem says that if fx is any polynomial, then the kernel of ft is, when we replace x by t, ft is again a transformation from V to V, then we show that the kernel of this transformation ft is T invariant. So let us take an element in kernel of ft V. We have to show when we apply T on this vector V, then it should again go to kernel of ft. Now because V is in kernel of ft, so ftv is 0. Now if tv we want to show is in kernel of ft, then that means ft applied on tv should be 0, and fttv is same as ftt applied on v. So this thing we have to show. Now fxx is same as xfx, therefore ftt will be same as tft. So this ftt we can replace by tft. So ftt of v is equal to tft of v. This is t of ft of v, but because v is in the kernel of ft, so ftv is 0, so this is t0 and so it is 0, and so kernel of ft is T invariant. So do remember this result, we shall use this result again and again, that the kernel of ft is always t invariant where f of x is any polynomial. Now this next result says that if W is a T invariant subspace, W remains invariant under T, then there is a matrix representation of T that has this kind of triangular block representation A, B, 0, C. This A itself is a matrix, B is a matrix, this is 0 matrix, and this C is a matrix. So triangular we are saying because the entries below the main diagonal are 0 here, where what is A? A is the matrix representation of the restriction T cap of T to W. First I tell you what is restriction of a map. We have T from V to V, and W is a subspace of this V, and W remains invariant under T. So T of W is again in W. So that means we can take this map T from W to W because it is already linear transformation. So it will remain a linear transformation on W also, and we denote this map which is now restricted to W. This is nothing but the map T itself. This we are simply denoting by T cap. T cap is a linear transformation from W to W. We call this map restriction of T to W. So this A matrix is the matrix representation of this map T cap. Now choose a basis B1, W1, W2, WR of this subspace W, and because this is a basis of W, it is a linearly independent set in V, so we can extend this set to a basis of V. So we are extending this B1 to B, taking these R vectors and adding these S vectors so that B becomes a basis of V. Now T cap of W1, T cap is restriction of T on W. So T cap is nothing but the map T itself. So T cap of W1 is same as TW1. So because under T, W remains invariant, so T of W1 will be again in W. So we can write this TW1 as a linear combination of only these R vectors. We can write this way. So TW1, suppose it is equal to alpha 1 1 W1 up to alpha 1 R WR. And similarly we can do for all the wi's. So t cap last vector t cap wr, it is twr, and suppose this is equal to alpha r1 w1 plus alpha r wr. Now T of V1, when we apply T on V1, this is now again a vector in V, vector space V. We don't know whether it is in W or not. So T of V1 we shall write down as a combination of all the basis elements in B. So it will be a combination of Wi's as well as a combination of Vi's. Similarly T of Vs, last vector, this is a combination of all vectors in B. So what will be the matrix of T with respect to basis B? First column will come from TW1. In TW1 there are only R coefficients which can be non-zero, all others are 0. Then continue like this, then this is corresponding to the column, this column is corresponding to TWR, this is corresponding to T of V1, and this last one is corresponding to T of Vs. So you can see that this block is 0 block. So this we are writing by this block. This is nothing but the matrix representation of T cap, this one, and these B and C are this one and this one. So we see that this A is nothing but matrix representation of T cap with respect to the basis B1. We are now defining what is direct sum of vector subspaces. We say that V, a vector space, is a direct sum of subspaces W1, W2, Wr. We write it as this way: W1 direct sum, W2 direct sum, and so on direct sum Wr. If we can write every vector V in V uniquely in this way, an element of W1 plus an element of W2 and so on plus an element of Wr. If this representation is unique, then we say that V is the direct sum of these subspaces. For example, take V equal to R cube, take W1 equal to xy0, Z coordinate is 0, so geometrically it is xy plane, and W2 is 0, 0, Z, geometrically it is Z axis. And now if you take any vector in V, 3 tuple xyz, then we can uniquely break this xyz into two parts, xy0 and 00z, and this we can do in a unique way. xy0 is a vector in W1 and 00z is a vector in W2. So this V is direct sum of W1 and W2. This theorem says that V is direct sum of some subspaces W1, W2, Wr if the union of their bases B1, B2, Br becomes a basis of V. That means if W1, W2, Wr are subspaces of V, B1 is basis of W1 and so on, Br is basis of Wr, then V is direct sum of these W1, W2, Wr if and only if the union of their bases, we are denoting this by B, is becomes a basis of V. This is if and only if result. So first suppose that B is a basis of V. We have we have to show that V is direct sum of W1, W2, Wr. So for this we have to show that every vector in V can be written as a sum of vectors in W1, W2, Wr, and that representation is unique. So pick an element V in V. Now because we are now assuming B is a basis of V, so we can write this V as a linear combination of elements in B. Elements in B are elements in B1, B2, Br. So we can write V as A11 W11, A1N1 Wn1. This is corresponding to the basis B1 and so on, and this is corresponding to the basis Br. Now this first is in W1, so let us denote this vector by W1, this one first one. Second one is this one, this will come from W2, and this last one Wr, it is coming from capital Wr. So we have written V as a sum of W1, W2, Wr, where each Wi is coming from capital Wi. So V is written as a sum of elements in Wi. We now show that this sum is unique, this representation is unique. So suppose V has another representation W1 dash, W2 dash, Wr dash, where wi dash is in capital Wi. Now wi dash is in capital Wi, so we can write this wi dash as a linear combination of basis elements of wi. So suppose wi dash is this one. Now if we put all the values of wi dash here, then v becomes this one. But remember, this is a all these wi's form a basis of v, so v can be uniquely written as in basis elements. So each aij must be equal to bij, and so wi must be equal to wi dash. So this v is uniquely written as a sum of vectors in wi, and so v is direct sum of w1, w2, wr. This proves the first part. Now conversely, suppose that v is the direct sum of these w1, w2, wr. We need to show that the union of all the bases of w1, w2, wr becomes a basis of v. Now let v belong to v. Because v is direct sum of w1, w2, wr, we can write v as this way: w1 plus w2 up to wr. Each wi is in capital Wi. So we can write each wi as a linear combination of bases of wi. So suppose w1 is this one, and so on, wr is this one. Then v we can write down this way: this is w1 and so on, and this is wr. So we have written v as a combination of wij for all wij. So that means v is generated by the elements in B, but v was chosen arbitrarily, so v is spanned by this set B. We have to show B is a basis of V, so last thing we need to show is that B is linearly independent. So we show now B is linearly independent. So suppose some linear combination is 0 of the elements of B, we need to show that all these scalars are 0. So we have written this combination equal to 0, but we can also write 0 as 0 plus 0 plus 0, where each 0 is coming from wi, and because v is direct sum of these wi, we can write 0 in a unique way, but we have written 0 now in two ways. One way is this one, this is, and another way is this one. So that means each this component must be 0. This is should be 0, this should be 0. So this component is 0 and so on, this rth component is 0. But now because these w11, w1n1 are linearly independent, they are bases of w1. So that will give us that a11 up to a1n1, this is 0. And so similarly we can show all other coefficients equal to 0. So all these scalars are 0. So B is linearly independent, and so B is a basis of V.